Okay, we are live. So with that, okay, we'll call the meeting in order for the Upson County Board of Commissioners for Tuesday, October the 8th. Appreciate everybody being here. If you would at this time, please rise for invocation. Pastor Raines is going to take care of business for us tonight. We'll follow it with our pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, we come today with thanks you on our tongue. Thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for allowing us to come to your house. Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight in this meeting. Lord, we ask that you be with our leaders. Lord, give them wisdom, guidance to lead us in the way that you have us to go. Lord, let us all do it in the spirit of harmony and love. And Lord, we want to glorify you in all that we do and all that we say. We pray for our world. We pray for our world leaders. We pray for our country, Lord, that we learn to love each other as you chose us to do. And then, Lord, just have your way in this meeting. We want to glorify you in all that is said and all that is done. We ask it all in your Son, Jesus' name. In Jesus' name we do pray. Everyone said amen.
Amen. Thank you. Join me in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, before we get down to the business, do have one change to the agenda tonight, if it pleases the board. We'd like to add an executive session at the end of the meeting tonight for the purpose to discuss real estate, personnel, and potential litigation. I have a motion.
So moved.
Seconds. Okay. I have a motion made and seconded to add that executive session. All in favor? It's unanimous. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda is public hearing, special exception SPX 2024 Tax 04. Applicant and property owner is MKLJ Holdings, LLC of Thompson, Georgia. Matthew Smith, registered agent, has requested Upson County permit many warehouses to be built at 3116 Crest Highway, State Route 74. This is 7.8 acre property zone C2 and further identified tax parcel 023-021. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? The public hearing is now open. All right, let's see. Signatures on there. That was the only one with signatures. All right, so just did. All right.
Trust to verify.
Trust to verify. All right, I don't want to miss anybody. So no one has signed up to speak in this public hearing for this special exception. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. I'll second.
All in favor? Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Currier.
Yes, sir. This is a special exception, as you recall from earlier cases, when it's a mini warehouse. They are by special exception in the C2. This property is also in the overlay district, the Gateway Corridor, so it will be affected by the requirements of that. This is 7.8 acres at the intersection of Old Alabama Road and Crest Highway. This does not lie within an a flood zone. The predominant zoning in the area is AR. This parcel is zone C2, and there's some C2 to the east. As you know, we have guidelines to review these proposals by. We also have the comprehensive plan. The particular district for this is active agriculture in the character area, and the rural community is right next door to the east. So this is on the border of active agriculture and rural community. There are goals and strategies that can be applied. Staff has also done the staff analysis against those criteria. And basically, as you hear it, most of these, something's not automatically a nuisance or a hazard. It's generally if it's not well maintained, if it's not well kept up or run. Additional requirements, if this is approved, would be payment of the occupation tax, building permits, and of course, following the Gateway Corridor requirements. Staff's review and analysis, and I've made this comment before, is I think prime retail is not where these sorts of uses should be. This is certainly a prime retail corner, and there have been citizens who have even called it the gateway to Sproul Bluff. So I think that you want a more active type commercial here, something that generates foot traffic, has some sort of an energy, and is a retail business that attracts people. Let's see. All right. Staff recommend the denial. The request is not consistent with the character area, and it's not the best commercial use. That's something that this corner that's already zoned commercial. There are conditions that are recommended that would follow the other mini warehouses if you so choose to approve it. The Planning Commission at its September 9th, 2024 meeting recommended denial by a vote of 4-1. This is the aerial photograph. You can see at the corner of 74 and Atwater. The zoning map, you can see it's surrounded by the R2 AR, just a couple of spots there of the C2, including this parcel. And this was the early design provided by the applicant. You can see how the building would, basically the floor plan would be laid out. And these are photographs of the type of design that you'd be looking at. These were presented by the applicant. This is the buffering that he talked about and the type of signage. And you have this in your staff report. This was slightly more detailed and aerial and put in the design elements that we had spoken about. This is looking into the parcel facing west. That's 74 west. Again, looking into the parcel to the south, Old Alabama. Across the street, looking into the parcel, you can see that it's been highly disturbed in the front. You remember there were sheds that had been sold there before, so there's not much real vegetation until you get further into the parcel to the west. That's what's across the street to the east. And this is the other commercial. It's an air conditioning company. And that's the view from that company looking over to this parcel. That concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So I think one of the pictures is kind of misleading. One of the pictures shows some of Mr. Smith's other businesses that are they're not climate controlled.
Well, that's what he provided to us.
This is climate controlled. Yes.
Single story, 2-story.
Well, I guess single story based on what he showed us.
Mr. Smith, I mean, you're back there. It sounds like we got some questions for you. So it is single story?
Yes, sir. Single story, all climate controlled, no outdoor.
Okay. Okay. What about lighting? What do you propose for lighting?
Just the outside light around the area and then the drive aisles and the
Going to be similar to what you have at the other ones,
maybe not
or?
quite as bright. But, I would like it well lit, but maybe not airport quality.
Yes, sir.
What about the fencing?
A black fence, chain link, just like the other, all the way around.
Where would the entrance and the exit be?
Old Alabama Road where the, probably 50 yards past where the rocks are and stuff out front, more towards the bluff.
So on the signage, I did notice the signage on there. Does that signage meet our gateway ordinance?
The only difference is if it's a pole, you can have a pole sign, so it would have to be monument style, but if it's against the fence, the regulations don't address that. Just if it's a freestanding sign.
So are you looking to do signage like
Yes, I'd
what
like
we're
to
seeing
put
here?
something on the fence, just that says that, the name, phone number, and the address, so you could go online and actually do the application and actually rent one.
Will it be staffed?
No, sir. I mean, I have an office here in town, so I can be reached and there within usually 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most.
So it's gonna be similar to the one that's on Eccles Drive out there on Highway 19.
Yes, sir, they built the office in that one, and I already have an office on the highway, so I'm not in need of the office. I just ain't have the space to rent. But you'd be able to rent it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on that website. They'd issue your locker number, and you'd pay for it online with a debit or credit card.
It's kind of hard, well, to tell on this. So it looks like there's a, can you pull that up, Doug?
Sir, see if we can get back to that.
Well, that one back there, the one you just went by, I think that'd work.
You just wasn't
Oh.
put a picture.
So, no, right back where you were.
There we go. Okay.
No, I want to see the one that shows the proposed drawing.
Site plan.
All
Yeah,
right,
the site
the
plan.
colorful one. If you can
That'll
get-
work.
Okay.
This will work. So State Route 74 there at the top. So that it's set back a pretty good ways.
I think it's 100 feet from
And
the
so-
line.
So obviously one of the concerns of this is it is the entrance to Squirrel Bluff Park. I mean, not necessarily, not really, but I mean, a lot of people, that's what they associate it with. So the sign, that really nice sign for Squirrel Bluff Park, that won't be, that's going to be out there.
You'll be on its own.
Okay. And then, so what about the landscaping outside the gated area?
It's gonna be the trees that I submitted, which will bloom 3 times a year. Then they got a fragrant smell to them. Got a nice tree, and then in the front will be just some like shrubs and stuff. Where the entrance to your gate will be.
So do we, on the gateway orders, we have
You gotta have.
certain criteria.
Right, on
Must be
74,
met.
there'll be a minimum of 30 feet wide landscaping, and I guess it'll be what he talked about, in that there's no requirement on Old Alabama, there is a requirement on 70.
So, but it'll be maintained.
Yes.
I mean, quite frankly, it hasn't been maintained for a long time. I mean, remember when those storage sheds were out there? I don't know who had it. It was overcome with vegetation. I don't know why anybody would have gone back in there. So that can't happen now.
Well, this would be well lit, and it'd be fenced in, so the people wouldn't be in.
But the area on the outside of the fence to the road, to both roads is going to be maintained.
Yes, sir.
Asphalt
If you run by
concrete.
my other two, I keep those cut
Yes,
every
sir.
2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Asphalt concrete.
It'd be asphalt. It'd be concrete slabs, and then the drive aisles are asphalt because the price difference now. Asphalt's a lot cheaper.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Any other questions? Is there a motion on this application?
Make a motion to go ahead and approve this design, and I'd really like to see, if it's, appeasing with Mr. Courier, that the 74 side be more than just metal tin. Try to put something else that would dress it up, not make it look like a storage building. And, if it's C2 already, the man could build a liquor store there if he wanted to. So.
Well, no, not that.
Convenience store.
Convenience store. I mean, it could be a Circle K or a Raceway or something like that. It could be just about anything, except,
My only thing is we've been letting road frontage on these storage units to just be plain. And you go anywhere else, and people have put in ordinances where they look a whole lot better than what we've got. So if he can come up with something that doesn't look like metal on the 74 side, I'd be happy.
Well, in the gateway corridor, he is going to have some masonry attached, at least on that side, because it's a parcel, so there is, but it's, just accent or ornamental, it's not substantial.
Yeah. Well,
And that's part of the gateway.
Anything is just better than metal walls. So.
okay. So that's already addressed in the gateway ordinance.
Could you describe a little better to me what?
It's not specific, and the ordinance basically says that there's got to be some sort of concrete, brick, cinder block treatment so that it's not pure metal. But I think, for instance, the mini warehouses on the south side of town that are just in unincorporated county, I believe the corners, you put some brick or something just on the corners. The rest of it still looks like metal, but there was some masonry in there. The ordinance is very non-specific in terms of what it could be. It could be 2 or 3, layers of brick on the bottom, something like that.
I'd like to come up with something.
But wouldn't the landscaping, the 30-foot wide landscaping that's already in the gateway ordinance, I mean, that would pretty much block the facility, wouldn't it?
Depends on how dense it is. We're not specific in terms of how many bushes and how many trees.
Matt, your plans are not to put so much landscaping out there that your business will be hidden from the highway, right?
No, sir, if you did stack it as thick as you could, the 74s up above the site, you'd still see it, kind of looking down onto it. But, I'd make it look nice. It wouldn't just make it look trashy.
Okay, so your motion is to approve
Yes.
with no conditions?
Yes, with the conditions to dress up that side of the
I think you'll have to be specific.
Yeah.
Well, then, if we could put, Doug said, brick, we, put a brick up, just so it doesn't look like a metal building all the way.
So what if you, just a suggestion, and you just condition that subject to approval of the design?
That'd be,
I mean, does that make it too difficult? I mean, you'd have to come back to us.
What if I just asked if I did the whole side in brick all together and just eliminate that?
So you
Just like
would
the
be
74
okay,
side
you'd be
would be
okay
all
if we just said on the
The gateway side, right.
that it be masonry.
Masonry, that's fine, or stack stone, either or.
that'd be fine.
Okay.
Match the.
Okay. So you want to amend your ordinance? I mean your ordinance. I'm sorry. Your motion to
Include.
on the condition that
Yeah.
the 74 side contains.
Stack stone or masonry or whatever.
Okay. So I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
No.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay, move along. Next is a public hearing for rezoning REZ 2024 TAC 05. Applicant property owner Sarah Ellington of Upson County has requested Upson County rezone 2.4 acres of a 16.4 acre more or less lot at 151 Grays Chapel Road from AR to M2 Manufacturing General for the development of a commercial livestock processing business and facility. Tax parcel number is 097022. The Planning Commission has granted front and rear yard variances for the existing buildings that are the existing home and the proposed livestock processing facility. So that part's been done. All right, so is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All public hearing, all in favor? Public hearing's open. No one signed up for comments for this, so I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, Mr. Courier.
Yes, sir. This proposal, as you've stated, is from Sarah Ellington. This is a 2.4 acre portion of a larger parent parcel, 16.43 acres at 151 Grays Chapel. In order to have a livestock processing business, a slaughterhouse, it has to be M2 by our codes. The parent parcel is going to remain AR. The variances that you said have been granted. The home and this processing business are very close to each other, as you'll see in the photographs. This is also known as Circle E Ranch. This is very close to unincorporated Yatesville. The area is completely in the area zoned AR, and here we look at the standards for AR and the description of M2. Again, we have review standards in the case of the rezoning also, which are to be used in evaluating these projects. And we also have the character area of active agriculture in this area, and there are certainly some goals and strategies to evaluate the project. This is the variance that was granted. There should have been 70 feet in between the house and this minimum, and it's far less than that. Staff analysis. This is a relatively small cattle processing operation in a very low-density residential area with a low-density number of cattle in the area, too. But this is a rural area with agriculture. It's proposed that the average number of head a day will be approximately 4 for 120 cattle processed a month. The process is slightly, the facility is slightly larger than 3,100 square feet. And you'll see that's critical in the conditions set by the, recommended by the Planning Commission. And again, staff review, looking at those criteria. Reasons for approval. This is a rural area zoned AR. Proposed facility is relatively small. Upson County is an agricultural county with its own cattle population, and the use is suitable to an active agricultural character area. Reasons for denial is this is a very small lot, therefore we have the house with less than a stone's throw from a cattle processing. This is very close to the city of Yatesville limits, and we don't really have a true assessment of the traffic impacts. The incinerator is not placed out there yet. The Planning Commission's recommendation at their September 9, 2024 meeting, they approved the setback variances and they recommended approval of the rezoning from AR to M2C unanimously, 5-0. Of course, the C stands for conditions. The conditions they recommend to you are that this be limited. Of course, M2 is wide open. There's lots of things that could happen in M2. So it's recommended that you limit it just to the commercial livestock processing use. In terms of limiting it, because of its location, it was suggested that it be limited to the size of this plan it's being built now, which is the 3,150 square feet. For purposes of the ordinance to adopt this, if it's approved, we need a legal description, and you've seen the graphics in your report and here that I'll show soon. It's not exactly a specific drawing. It's not something that we can define specifically. This is the aerial photograph. You can see that cluster over to the east is the city of Yatesville, so you can see it's very close. A little closer up. This is the house, and this is the facility being built behind it. This is the pasture area where I guess until the cattle are brought in, they'll range back there, as well as in some corrals. You see, this is where we need a proper legal description. This L-shaped property is the M2, what is the subject of the rezoning request, and you can see the house is right there. The floor plan. The zoning in the area is all AR completely. And these are just some photographs of the facility, the entranceway off of the raised chapel, house to the right. You can see the facility being built.
So is that house, is that what's being shown on that proposed plat as being separate?
That's the house right there.
Right, that's separate from this rezoning.
Correct. It'll stay AR, although you do have a recommendation of one of the conditions that.
That's where I'm going with this. I say the conditions. So.
Right. There was discussion with the applicant that they want to convert that into a house and an office and make that house part of the operation, but it's sometime off before they would build a new house. So that's where the Planning Commission recommendation came from. This is the south side of the property, at least from the road.
Road looks pretty bad, doesn't it?
Country road.
It's
This
on the
is
list to be
looking-
resurfaced.
Looking south on Grace Chapel. And this is the across the street neighbor. This is looking north on Grace Chapel, and that's the next door neighbor to the north. This is the facility, you can see it's under construction there. They are allowed by right to process deer in the AR, so I believe that they probably have done a little bit of that already, but obviously this would be a very large facility just for processing deer. This is the house, the back of the house. This is just the rear view of the buildings from the pasture side. This is the corrals area where they'll keep the cows, or they'll guide them into. This is the chute area where the cows will be put along this wall and into the processing plant. The corral area immediately behind that, and the pasture area behind that. This is, photos inside didn't come out too well, but this is the one cooler that is in there, that inside photos came out all right. That concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Is somebody here? Okay. I was going to make that assumption, but I figured I wouldn't. So. Yeah. And no one from the community signed up to come here. Have you had any conversation with the neighbors out there?
Mr. Maddox, Junior Maddox, he's helped me a few times along the way, hanging I beams and stuff like that.
Okay.
He's my neighbor.
Right.
Up the hill, that's his daughter's house, that's directly across from me. It's a rental house, and my neighbor Mark, he's helped me a lot. That's the house just to the north of me. He's helped me a lot with equipment. I had some equipment come down this past year, so he brought in some tractors and come run excavator and that kind of thing. I've spoken with all of them. They're all pretty much on the same page.
I go to church with one of them neighbors out there, and I didn't want to hear about it on Sunday when I go through there if this gets done. You know, I mean, it was his chance to come and sign up. He didn't see anything at church yet. So, are you doing any kind of retail? Any plans for any kind of retail going out the front of this as you go? Or
I would like to, once we're USDA, everything's running smooth, and we can do something like this, so we could sell beef directly.
is that going to be an issue if they go to?
In the agriculture, they're allowed to have a stand, so there's a limit to the stand that they can
Okay.
have, and it's got to be a percentage their own product versus something else.
Okay.
So there's limits.
Yeah, if you've been to the Yoder's place out off Grant Road in Barnesville, they've got a little self-serve stand. They sell beef, ice cream, butter, vegetables, that kind of thing. It'd be something similar if I did that.
Okay. And then
You killing your beef and others, or your
Yes,
beef
sir.
or what?
My beef and others.
okay. And this is the only one we'll have in Upson County, as far as I know, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Incinerator.
The incinerator is it's a dual chambered incinerator, has an afterburner, so there's no debris that leaves it. The only thing left inside of it is just your salts and ash.
Propane.
Propane use, yes, sir.
Can you go back to the conditions?
Is that incinerator is kind of the standard? Is that what most use? I mean,
It's a mostly standard. You can pay to haul
any
it off, but
any odor?
not from the incinerator.
Okay.
The facilities I visited in Dewar that have haul-off dumpsters, yes, there's odor.
Yeah.
These were recommended by the planning commission.
And I guess no issues with these suggested conditions?
That's-
Well, Doug, this question is more for you. I mean, so it's a rezoning, but one of the conditions is the existing home must be converted to office space
Within
for the
3
business,
years.
but it's not inside the parcel that's being rezoned.
It would have to be another rezone.
So I'm not sure I even have that as a condition, but what y'all think? I mean, there may be somebody that wants to live next door to a cattle processing place that's operating an incinerator, you know?
I enjoy it quite.
Well, there you go.
I'm
So,
really close
so
to
basically
my
this would be, if you did this, it would be saying 3 years from now, you'd have to be out of there.
house.
I don't see how we can tie another parcel to this parcel's rezoning, but,
Unless you rezone, could have had another rezone.
yeah, and that would solve that
So here
problem.
we are back here again, and costing him time, money, staff time and money. So, let me ask this, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the planning commission's recommendations minus number 5.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made, second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing no further discussion. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Abstain, family.
Chairman Allen?
Yes.
Family.
There's some kind of Ellington connection.
Get free beef.
All right. Good luck to you. Hope it works out very well for you.
He looks better.
I'm sitting here looking, I said, man, I'm looking at somebody I know. The man that used to sit up here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, missing. All right, moving on. Special exception, SPX 2024 TAC 05. Applicant property owner Lori Weeks, Upson County, has requested Upson County permit an indoor-outdoor special events venue located on 5 acres of the 20 acres at 534 Logtown Road. Co-owner is Faye Holston. Proposals, special exceptions of AR zoning districts. Property further identified as tax parcel 084097. And was this the one? No. No one signed up for this one either. But is there a motion? Motion to open.
Second.
Motion made. All in favor? Public hearing's open. No one signed up for any comments.
So moved.
Is there a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Seconded by Commissioner Ellington. Keeping up with all that, right? All in favor? All right. Okay. Okay, Mr. Curtin.
Yes, sir. The applicant and owner in this case is Lori Weeks, wants a special event venue similar to the ones that you've been asked to approve in the past. The minimum by code has to be a 5-acre parcel of the 20. So we made that clear in the conditions for an indoor and outdoor special event venue. This is on the west side of Logtown Road, just south of Yatesville, north of Pleasant Grove Road. Surrounding zoning is AR. Again, we have those general review standards which we use to evaluate these sorts of projects. And again, nuisances and negative effects are determined by how they're managed and maintained. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission at its September 9th, 2024 regular meeting also recommended approval with following conditions. And as you can imagine, these are the traditional conditions that have been used before. I don't think we varied at all on these particular conditions. So they're the standard ones that you've used on all the other ones. This is the aerial photograph. Again, you see the city just to the north. Of significance. Now, they don't own it, but those of you who travel this road occasionally are familiar with the, I guess, a piece of art that looks like a lighthouse. So this is right next door to that. It's a little closer in. Most of this parcel, as well as the property around it, is a former pecan grove. So that's where this will be. This is their drawing of where the road will come onto the property, and there'll be a pavilion in the back. That'll be the startup of the facility, and this is basically their vision of what the pavilion might look like. This was provided by the applicant. This is the house that's on the property. This will not be part of the event venue. They just to show, if anybody knows of the property, just to show them that this is the house on that property. And again, you go from a mowed and cleared area into the pecan trees, and then it just becomes a little more wooded and more brush back there. But back there somewhere is where they're going to put the pavilion. They do have a former rose garden. They may, and this is in the front of the property, they may use this for some parts of the event. But again, most of the events will be in the back of the property where the pavilion will be. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Co-owner, they co-own the property?
When you look at the deed, you'll see those two names on the deed.
What about restroom facilities, that type of stuff?
We were told that was asked at the planning commission, and I believe they'll just bring in portalets with long-term plans to maybe build something more permanent, at least in the beginning it would be portalets.
Water, washing, you know.
That wasn't discussed.
Is anybody here? So you hear Commissioner Ellington's concerns, running water at the site, restroom facilities.
Yes,
So-
like he said at first, probably portables, and then down the road, build actual bathrooms.
Okay.
I mean, water, my husband is out of town, so he should be answering all these questions.
So you got thrown to the wolves.
Yes, exactly.
If you don't mind me asking, you do not have to answer this question, but what's going to be the main purpose of the facility? Is it going to be for a wedding venue or something like that?
Probably more wedding than, yes.
Well, I would think if that's the type of venue you're going to have some water out.
Yes,
People-
absolutely.
And I'm sure a woman in a wedding dress is not going to want, I've never been in one, but not going to want a porta potty.
There's some pretty nice ones.
But, okay, that, which side, I was a little confused because we was going through that pretty quick, but is this on the same side of the road as the house? Or
Yes.
on the opposite side?
Same side.
What type of lighting are you gonna have on it?
String lighting.
Like the things we had in our old one.
Honestly, I'm not sure. I'm sorry.
So without running water, without lighting, you're gonna be very limited as to type of events you could have. It'd be more like picnics and that stuff that during daylight hours. So,
I mean, we'll
Well, I'm
definitely
assuming-
have all that ran, I just don't know, like, the specifics, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I like to make a motion that we table this to potentially one. The husband, partner, what is back in town, they may be able to come in and answer some of these questions that way, just so we get a good understanding. We don't approve
When-
something or
when
deny
would-
something tonight. that-
when would you suspect it, we would have someone to have these answers for us? So water, lighting, those types of things.
Electricity.
Yeah, electricity.
Like in a couple weeks.
Okay, maybe at our next meeting, which would be, so just saying, table it to our next regular meeting. Okay,
If possible.
is there a second?
Possible.
Motion made, second.
October 22nd.
October 22nd. Okay, if you just work with Mr. Curry or let him know, make sure it's possible. So that way we're not starting over, we just get you in here and answer some questions and,
Okay.
all right?
And Mr. Chairman, just to clarify procedurally, you've had the public hearing, so we will not advertise another public hearing. This will just be your regular meeting.
All right,
I have a motion to table it.
yes. You made it, you seconded it.
Okay, I missed it, sorry.
We don't need to vote on that, do we? Okay. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. All right, moving along. Next item is a special exception to SPX 2024 Tax 06. Applicants and property owners Donald and Monica Hamilton of Upson County have requested that Upson County permit a church to be built on an unaddressed AR zone lot on the east side of Highway 19, east of Martin Church Road and north of Birdsong Road. The church use is listed under the special exception section of the AR zoning district. Property is 3.91 acres more or less and is further identified, and tax parcel number is 061023. A motion to open the public hearing.
We'll move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Public hearing is open. We do have people that want to talk to us. if you would, I call your name. If you'd come up here, get in front of the camera, and your name and your address for the record. And it looks like Hamilton?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Praise the Lord and good evening.
Yes, sir.
I'm Donald Hamilton. This is my lovely wife, LaMonica Hamilton. Our address is 3270 Triangle Road here in Thompson. We come before you today requesting a special exception to build a house of worship that we and the members of Victory and Praise Ministry may go and worship our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Our ministry is currently at 209 8th Street, the old Silvertown Clingers. After seeing the growth of our ministry, I went out searching for a bigger facility for our congregation. I visited vacant churches in the area, and all was in need of major repair. I'm talking about major repair. You know, the price is what they're asking for the buildings don't account for what it would cost to even build, you know. So I did my due diligence and went and checked out a lot of the churches that was available. As we were searching out for property, I ran into the property down on Highway 19 South that was for sale. I contacted the realtor, asked if I could build a church there, and that was the only purpose of why I would purchase the property. They told me it was zone AR. Yes, you can build a house of worship on the property. I had my attorney, Matthew Mallory here in Thompson, to confirm that I can build a house of worship. He said yes. The day of the closing, I asked him again before signing the papers, can I build a house of worship? He said yes, because it's zone AR and the house of worship can be built on that property. At the building and zoning meeting, a couple of concerns was parking. That the parking will overflow to the property north of us. Mr. Trey Holder's property of 408 acres. Our frontage on that property is 753 feet, which is equivalent to 2.5 football fields. So you're looking at Matthew Field twice and a half, the frontage of the property. When we build on the south, we will be building on the south end of the property, using about an acre, maybe an acre and a half of the property, and providing a buffer of trees around the property that is next to Mr. Holder's and Miss Christine Ivy's property. There will be no way for our parking to overflow to our neighbors due to the buffer of trees and the length of the frontage of our property. Now, my mother's probably real mad if I had to walk on a football field length to get to the church, so that won't be happening. The schematic plans and pictures that they will provide, we blow them up so you can be able to see what we're going to draw. It looked like it take up the whole 3.91 acres. It doesn't. But we did it so you can see what we're doing out there on the property. Concerning the noise at the rental property, we've been there for 5 years, and we've never been confronted about any noise on the property where we currently worship at. I have received welcoming recommendations from the following neighbors. Welcome Grove Baptist Church, Deacon Kenny Hollis and his congregation, they 3.75 of a mile north of us. Ms. Christine Ivy, 4153 US Highway 19 North, South. She stayed right next door. She was very thankful for us for being her neighbors, because she was kind of afraid that the hunters may bought the property. And so she was like, man, thank the Lord that you all got the property. Ms. Lynetta Raines, 4175 US Highway 19 South, which is 2 houses down. Talked to her, let her know. I would have talked to Mr. Holder, let him know what was going to do, and if I know, you know, I've got some letter where they had contacted him and see some information on. I would talk to him also. And also Pastor and First Lady Todd at Birdsong Road, which is southwest, got highly recommendations. So I thank you all and look forward to hearing your recommendations. Thank you.
Sir. Mr. Raines.
Been a while, glad to see you. First of all, foremost, thank you for allowing me to speak, Mr. Chairman. I'm speaking on behalf of Pastor Hamilton. He's a good man. He's a lifelong resident of Upson County. He's a taxpayer here. He's been pastor of church for 5 years. It's outgrown. He's doing well in ministry. I come to say that I support him in that endeavor. The neighbors that he's around support it. The property owner that's trying to sell the property, been trying to sell that property for years. I realize that he's asking for a special exception. I realize special exception is put in place because you want to make sure that you become a nuisance to the people that's already own the property adjacent to you. This particular situation here, I think it's time that we need to look at, you should never kick against somebody trying to help the community, especially when you help them impact people's lives. I've known him a long time. James, I don't know if you know him. We went to Upson Court, we went to Lee, but he's a great person. And then I look at the support that he's got with his neighbors. One of the neighbors came to the meeting excited. They're pastors of a church themselves. They retired. They're there. The people that are around the church support it. But I do have some issues. That's why I'm here. I have an issue with planning and zoning board. And the reason I have an issue with the planning and zoning board is because, one, in most meetings, I realize y'all struggle with getting people to serve. I do get that. But when you have one person that as soon as a recommendation is made, go ahead and make a request for denial, and it doesn't get a second, then that Mr. Hamilton would have been stuck in planning and zoning for another year. And just luckily, Johnny Dawson seconded the motion. Not that he was against it, but he wasn't going to allow him to sit there on that motion to do nothing. And not only that, I also have an issue with the planning and zoning administrator. He's not helpful. He doesn't go out his way to make sure that people are applying applications, ask the right questions. He doesn't offer meetings with them to sit down to discuss stuff so they know what they're trying to do. Can you imagine, as a property owner, being told that did you decide to look at these vacant churches? First of all, he owns property. And as long as he meets the requirements that he owns that property, you shouldn't worry about whether he checks somewhere else. You should make it your business as a zoning administrator to go out your way to help him figure out what he can do and what he can't do. And so I'm just standing here today to say that we need to look at planning and zoning, these people that we're appointing to the board, and I'll say this just looking at the board, it doesn't show the diversity of the community as a whole. I know it's hard to get people to apply. I get that. I've been a chairman. I know what you deal with as far as trying to get people involved. But I do commend Commissioner Ellen, because I did see it in the paper where you said that we need to educate people so maybe they will apply. But to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again and expecting change is not going to happen. So I just come tonight to say I'm asking you to vote to support him trying to put a church in our community, which I think is a good thing. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. All right, that's it for public comments. Is there a motion to exit?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Mr. Courier.
Yes, sir. As you heard, the applicants, property owners are Donald and LaMonica Hamilton. The proposal is for a 5,200 square foot church on 3.91 acres. The property is zoned AR, therefore the special exception process, and of course this is on the Gateway Corridor, so they would be subject to those requirements also. There are the requirements below. These are the requirements that you have to meet automatically because they're part of the ordinance, and they meet all of these. Again, we don't have specific plans, but hopefully they'll meet all these setback requirements. That's letter D, 50 feet from the property line. And you'll see later in the report that there were questions about the parking, so I did a calculation as best as I could. The area is surrounded by AR zoning. Really, the only development is a few scattered single-family residential units. This is the Forest Street character area. Of course, there are goals and strategies from the comprehensive plan associated with this. And again, you have the general review standards that all these projects are supposed to be evaluated against. Staff has done that evaluation. Again, generally, they're about nuisances and creating issues. And again, it's how your property is managed and how you maintain it. So something is not automatically a nuisance or hazard unless it's poorly maintained. Now again, this was an issue with the Planning Commission, so I did there are three standards for this type of use. One is for fixed seating, and there was no proposal for fixed seating, so we couldn't do that calculation. So then we either have these two formulas are remaining. One is basically an estimate of what square footage in the hall itself, just the worship part, not the offices or any other rooms, what that room would be available for chairs to sit up. You see the formula there. I estimated that based on that formula, there would be required to be 42 parking spaces. The other formula is based on gross square feet, and based on the gross square feet, then you come up with a minimum of 35 spaces. So based on this calculation, the ordinance says whichever one is greater, that's the minimum parking requirement. So, and I'm certainly willing to find out that whether the 1,680 is accurate or not. I just did the best I could with the drawing that we had for the 42 spaces. So based on that calculation, we estimate 42 spaces would be needed. 36 are shown on the drawings that you've got in your staff report. Staff recommended denial. The comprehensive plan, again, calls this character area forestry. Obviously, we want to limit, at least at this time, development in the area. There's no plan anywhere for development in this area. It's actually pretty negligible. There's nothing there except for a few houses. And scattershot development is nothing that we want to pursue. That's not a plan. That's not written anywhere that we scattershot development. And as you do see in the staff report, it was referenced, there are a number of buildings that could be used. Now, there may be specific reasons why they don't work, but again, we just, without having parameters to work with, we just looked around the community, being familiar in our office the way we are with these abandoned buildings. The Planning Commission also voted at that September 9th meeting for denial 5-0. Again, there were questions about accel and decel lanes, whether or not the lot was already too small for what their plans are. Again, the parking issue was there, and some of the staff concerns were shared. This is drawings that are submitted by the applicant. You'll see the basic design for the site and a rendering of what the building would look like. Again, you've got a more detailed site plan, then you've got what the signage would look like. Again, this is Gateway Corridor, so it would have to be a monument sign. And this is the floor plan. And these would be movable chairs. These aren't fixed. And again, this is what it would look like. This was submitted by the applicant. This is the aerial photograph. You can see the single-family lots to the south and east. And basically, there's an edge where the houses begin, but you can see the whole lot is forested. They'll have to clear whatever area out to create the church site. Now, this is where staff went out. We were familiar with some empty buildings, empty churches that are available. This is on Indian Trail, Barnesville Highway. Now, this may be owned by a family now. When I was taking the photographs, I've been by this many times. There was nobody doing anything. Now, there might have been a family that bought this, so it might not be available now. Now, this is the building in front of that church that the church was supposed to move into. To my knowledge, nothing is going on here, and this was actually going to be the new church, and they never did move into it. So this building had been intended. It actually has an approved special exception for a church.
It belongs to Christ Chapel.
It did. It's got a different name on the record now. It was donated to them by the former, by Grace Point, but when I checked, for purposes of the research, it's got a different name on it, so I'm not sure if that person's associated with the other church or not. This is Westmore's Crossing. And Cobbtown. So those are the ones that at least staff could come up with at the moment, that we have many churches that do not have a congregation now. That concludes the staff report, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
During all this, and we talked about a lot of things, but did Pastor Hamilton's drawings and all, it met the setbacks? We talked about decel lanes. That's outside of our lane. That's DOT. We don't need to stay aside that. I don't even know why that was discussed. What did he meet the setbacks? Did you go over
That's
the
just
gateway ordinance?
That's a general, we discussed it in general terms, but that's not an actual site plan, so we would have to know what the exact, it doesn't show, the 30-foot buffer of landscaping,
Can I
et
ask?
cetera.
Pastor Hamilton?
Yes, sir.
Have you had an opportunity to look at some of these gateway ordinances?
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
And you're okay with that?
I'm fine with it. I'm a Marine Corps vet. Attention to detail.
Gotcha. Okay, hey.
Attention to detail. I'm master and train and teach on attention to detail, so whatever you require, I'll meet those standards.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. They almost got you right. Churches do require special exception, and hopefully that word will get out. We don't have a lot of people. But here, the last couple of months, we've had a couple. You'd be the second one that do require special exception for building churches, and if you think about it, for obvious reasons, churches a lot of times have different shapes, and perhaps that's why we have some of these older churches that can't find use today. And I appreciate your due diligence going out and looking at some of them, because looking at those pictures, probably a lot cheaper to build than to go in and try to fix some of those. And but anyway, and I'm sure location has a lot to do with it. So if the location don't work for you. So, I'm not even going to ask y'all. I'm going to make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Just bear with us. So I have a motion made and seconded. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay, good luck to you, sir. Hey, go Dave. All right, gentlemen, if y'all would, we got more business to do here. Next item on the agenda is a special exception for SPX 2024 TAC 07. Applicants, property owners Melody and Ronald Rivers of Upson County have requested Upson County permit an AR special exception for recreational vehicle to serve as temporary housing during construction of their home at 18474 Highway 74. Property is 18.5 acres more or less. And the frontage, this is that property that was developed out there that borders Lamar County and or Monroe County. Monroe County and Upson County. And the home is to be built on the Upson County portion of the property. This is an after-the-fact request. No one signed up for this, so motion to open the public hearing. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? No one signed up. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor? Public hearing is now closed. Okay, Mr. Courier.
Yes, sir. Melody Rivers is the applicant. This is after the fact. The manufactured home is already out there, and as you referenced yourself, this is a split county parcel. The entrance is actually over in Monroe County, but the building and the construction site, the RV, are in Upson County. This actually started as a code enforcement action. There were a lot of activity, as you know, out there building new homes, and when they were out there, they looked over this and said, what's going on over there? So it was discovered. One of our code officers did have some discussions with the applicant, and that's how we got to the point where we are. The easternmost 715 feet of the lot are in Monroe County, and the rest is in Upson County. The zoning in the is AR in the entirety of Upson County and surrounding this, and it's also AR in Monroe County. Those review standards that we have to evaluate these projects, staff has done that. Let's see. Okay. So here's the aerial. You can see in the extra dark This was taken from tax assessor's website. Of course, they don't include Monroe County. So in the photo, I just had to add. So this is basically sort of a flag lot, looks more like a pipe, but here it is in Monroe County, and then this is the county line, and then the construction site's back there. And then here's the site, the actual plat that was approved not too long ago. Here's the parcel here on the south side of the development. When you come into the lot, there's the RV. There's also a building, I guess it stores equipment. They do have occasionally sheltered themselves in there.
Was that, I'm sorry, just go ahead and ask the question, was that a pre-existing building or is that newly constructed?
That was also a permit after the fact.
Okay. Inspected?
Yeah. They did eventually come in for the permit and get it approved. And then, of course, in order to come in for this, they have to have the building permit for their new home. So here's the beginning of it. I didn't take a very good picture, but the footers have been dug and there is rebar inside of there. I believe that inspection was several weeks ago. So again, there's the construction site. And this gives you an idea looking to the east from the construction site of the parcel. That concludes the staff report.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Let me ask a question first. So when did they buy the permit for the house? Roughly.
It's in the staff report. I just, off the top of my head, don't remember.
They've been there a pretty good while.
Yeah, they've been there probably close to 2 years. Let's see. Potable water well permitted, septic tank. Those are completed in August of '24, inspection. Building permit was issued August 12th of this year. One inspection's been done.
Okay, so
But yeah, I'm gonna guess the RV's been out there over a year, maybe closer to 2.
Are they here?
Yep.
Okay. Just, we typically ask this question from everybody. So you got your footers and stuff that you working on your construction, estimated time to complete?
Roughly probably about 6 to 8 months.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve while they build the house, considering that they have it done within 1 year.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll say.
So a motion made and seconded to approve with a 12-month limitation on that. Hearing no further discussion, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. I'm sure it's very complicated for y'all trying to figure out who you report to out there, either Monroe or, but appreciate your patience and good luck and welcome to Upson County.
That RV connected to septic.
I didn't look, it needs to
According to
be.
the photo, it is.
You can see it.
Yeah.
He went by so fast I couldn't see it.
Yeah, it was in one of these photos here. That's why I like getting mine printed.
Long as it's hooked up, it's got to be hooked up to septic.
Yeah, it is. Otherwise, Tyler will be out visiting you. Okay, all right, gentlemen, next item on the agenda is a special exception for SPX 2024 Tax 08. Applicant's property owner Ricardo and Maria Perez of Jackson, Georgia, have requested Upson County permit an AR special exception for a recreational vehicle as temporary housing during the construction of their home at 441 Bishop Road. Property is 4.81 acres more or less. Tax parcel number is 053032P. All right, is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? No one signed up, so is there a motion to exit the public hearing?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, Mr. Courier.
Yes, sir. Again, this is Ricardo and Maria Perez of Jackson, Georgia, on 4.8 acres at 441 Bishop Road. This is part of the Bishop Wood subdivision. Again, it was not approved too long ago, just February of this year. AR in this area. This is one of those subdivisions that a lot of houses are being built relatively quickly after approval of the subdivision. We have our standards to review it by. And again, this doesn't come to you unless the septic's been taken care of, the well's been taken care of. When we have all the paperwork to back that they're not only installed but ready to be used. Again, staff recommends approval of this one. It's a temporary accessory use. Impacts of the home, the RV being out there is temporary, and you do traditionally approve this. There is no RV. This is not after the fact. They have not placed it out there yet. So this is the home as you're coming in the driveway. And basically, you're just going to see photos of the home, cleared areas where the RV could go if they still want it to go in, around the home. And that concludes the staff report, Mr. Chair.
Okay. To
Thank
ask
you
the same
for-
question, it looks like construction's, I'm assuming that y'all,
Yeah.
construction's moving along pretty quick.
Yeah.
So how long do you think it'll be?
I hope we can finish this year.
This year,
Okay. Wow.
a couple months.
Well, at least he's doing it right.
Yes, sir. All right. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve. I'm still gonna put the 1-year limit on it. You never know, and,
And we don't know what's going to happen
that's right.
this week. So, all right. Have a motion to approve. Is there a
So moved.
second?
Yep, second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Good luck. Welcome to Upson County.
Thank you.
All right. Public comments. No one signed up for public comments tonight. We'll move right along. Next item is a consent agenda. Gentlemen, on the tonight's consent, you have approval of the September 24, 2024 regular meeting minutes. Motion on the consent.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Abstain. I think I missed it. Okay, new business. Discussion and consideration to award the bid for the Thurston Well construction. And we've been waiting on this a long time.
Yes, we have.
And so, all right.
Just,
Jason.
Mr. Chairman, very briefly, we're in receipt of 3 bids. The lowest responsive bid being $1,012,000 and $12,920. So there were 2 other bids. One was roughly $1.3 million, and one was roughly $1.5 million. The low bidder was McElroy. The other 2 bidders were Coggins Construction, which was the 1.35, and then Parrish Construction was basically the 1.5. So after review of the submissions and some vetting by the engineering staff, we're prepared to make a recommendation to award the bid to McElroy at $1,012,920.
Okay. Gentlemen, you heard staff's recommendation. Is there a motion?
Can I ask,
I was gonna, yeah, go ahead.
can we put a time limit on this one?
Well,
You can in the contract.
So that it doesn't just,
well, I talked to our engineer the other day, and I guess the whole process for them to get the contract to drafted and get the notice to proceed is going to happen pretty quick. I think it was put out at what? It wasn't long, and I don't want to throw a number out there and be wrong, but it wasn't very long to do. So it would be specified in the contract. So I would say if you want to put something on there, make that part of your motion, and we'll try to get it in the contract. And if for some reason they can't, or maybe do it this way, if you want to go that way, give me some leeway. So when I sign the contract.
I would recommend some sort of authorization for the chairman to make a determination on the length of time.
I mean, because obviously we want to get this done. We wanted to get this done before this next winter season came in, and hopefully we don't have water lines freezing up and have issues with procuring water from the city like we did 2 winters ago. So, I mean, what are you thinking?
well, the only thing I was thinking is, is they get started and then
And it's gonna be weather dependent, so.
That's right, it's gonna be weather dependent, and,
So,
I don't know, has EMC got any timeline?
he and I talked about it the other day, and again, I don't want to throw a number out there, but I don't see why, and, you know, it should take a year.
Right.
I mean, it's drilling a well and a metal building and installing the pumps and the
Get all their
associated
stuff
equipment.
done, they still gotta go through the EPD stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
but,
afterwards.
but as far as the construction thing of it, I mean,
Right.
270 days, I mean,
It does have to be inspected by the EPD, and, you know, they do that on their schedule.
but if we just put it in the contract, they get no more than 270 days to complete the building,
Right.
and whether or not they're waiting on
Right.
state permit, I mean,
Right.
inspections or stuff like that, I mean, that's something you can take up with. And I'll tell you, and the other concern I have about this is, we're looking at, and I'm gonna put this out there because I want whoever gets this contract to know this. Hey, we've been waiting on this for a long time. We're ready to go. This is being paid for with splosh money. It is a significant need for this community because we don't want to have what we had happen 2 years ago. And I talked to our engineer. I said, you know, there's a huge difference in prices here. You know, how do you go from low bid of 1 million, the next one's 1.3? You know, and so I had a conversation with him that we want to make sure that they know
They didn't miss
it's being built as staff designed it to those specs. There's not going to be any change orders. You know, it's being built as designed. So I just want to put that out there so they know going into this. You know, don't come back to us later and say, hey, we can build it cheaper. It's being built as designed. Unless y'all have, at least you want to give them some leeway. I know staff and the engineers worked very hard on the design of this thing.
Well, the key component of this project is the design is what was approved by EPD.
Yes.
So it can't change. Yep.
But the type of equipment that goes in there, you know,
The equipment is.
Really down to the injection systems, to the chemicals used, it's all
but I'm sure there are different
approved as
makes,
we spec. So if we make any changes, we have to ask for a change to the permit.
but I'm sure there are different makes and models.
There are.
It's not in the design that says you got to use this pump.
Acme versus.
Yeah, it's going to be designed to the capacity of the pump, not to make it model. So anyway, I just want to put it out there that, you know, I mean, that is a big difference in price.
And Chris felt comfortable that they didn't miss some scope.
He felt comfortable telling me that he had that conversation. So, and so they stood by their recommendation. I mean, you can't, there's $300,000 difference between bidders here.
In fairness, the engineer's estimate is closest to the low bidder.
True, but that estimate was, we kicked that number around a while.
Sure.
A couple years.
A while, and I won't say it because we know what's working around here, right?
30% difference.
Yeah, 30% difference. So I think I aired we've had the airing of grievances. Is there any,
That's it, I'm done.
is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve McRoy as a low bidder.
Okay, for this, okay. You'll word it appropriately. So approve McElroy for this project for a bid amount of $1,012,090.20. For amount not to exceed $1,012,920. Is that what you said?
Sure.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Jones.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Discussion and consideration on an updated contract with Snyder Electric. Jason.
So, Mr. Chairman, this is very simple. If you go to the bottom of page 3, under payment A, and then the top of page 4, section C, facilities. So A, we're adding an additional $50,000 exit fee, because what we're doing is we're adding Section C, the facility Upson Recreation Ball Field. So this is just us catching up to where we are with the project. They're actually getting ready to start on the project on the 24th of this month. This is just updating our contractual arrangement to include that project in with the project scope. Reviewed by legal and approved and recommended for your approval.
Okay. So before we spend money, you want to just tell us where we're at? I mean, you drove all the way down here. I'm going to let you speak.
Sure. Yes, we've already started this design process. We've kicked off our construction team and we've started acquiring equipment and everything for our initial phase, and we've begun designing this project already.
The ball fields.
We're talking about the ball fields here.
Yes.
So we've started the construction team, and for the concession stand and the batting cages, we are already have design team working on that. We have a survey. The big thing is utility survey that we have to do to make sure we understand loads and placements and fixtures and everything. So that is happening. That was the one kind of bottleneck. There was a bit of a backlog on getting a survey team out. So that team's coming out next week, which then from that point, we should have design wrapped up to be bid out in 5 to 6 weeks after that. So we'd be looking at end of November, early December to present you guys the final project at that point for this change order to the existing ball field project.
Okay. When do you expect you're going to start and break ground on?
Oh, breaking ground is going to happen in like end of October, early November.
At the end of our season.
Right. Okay. Okay. Very excited about that. Okay. So Jason, what do you need here? You just need a motion to approve.
So they can send us their mobilization.
Authorize the chair to.
No, just approve as submitted.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. Discussion and consideration to rescind the state of emergency for Upson County. Do I have a motion to rescind the state of emergency for Upson County?
Rescind, not rescind, right?
Remove it.
Just for clarification, the night before Hurricane Helene, the chairman entered into a state of emergency under his emergency powers. It can only be rescinded by a full vote of the board. We did not need to enact any of the provisions of the.
We were ready. Unfortunately, it wasn't the first rodeo for us on this stuff, so we just need to rescind it.
So moved.
I have a second. Ms. Jones?
Commissioner Jones?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Ellington?
Yes.
Chairman Allen?
Yes. Okay. Comments? Mr. Tinsley?
Mr. Chairman, I know that a lot of classes related to HB 581 were canceled. Mine was not, and I found it to be extraordinarily helpful in clarifying some of the issues and some of the things that I did and did not know about that very huge piece of legislation. I put what I would consider a comprehensive executive summary together in your packet. If you'd like me to go over a few of those points during my comments tonight, I would be glad to do that, or you can ask me to forego that.
Well, I think it's important to hit just a few of the highlights. I mean, for people that are watching or in attendance, you need to know that it is on the November ballot. You're going to be voting on this thing here very soon. And so, in basically very simple terms,
Right. So
it means.
So when you see it on the ballot, it's going to be about 3 or 4 sentences. But what it really does is it implements what's called a floating homestead exemption. So we're all familiar with homestead. we changed our own homestead exemption, our own local exemption just recently. What this will do, this will create an assessment freeze on your valuation based on your 24 valuation. So as the assessors continually reevaluate your property and assign it a higher value, they will not be assigning you a higher taxable value as if this is approved by the voters. So your taxable value will freeze. Your regular value will continue to increase. If you sell the property, it will unlock that value and it'll recapture at the new value if that property is homesteaded by the new owner. So what does that mean to our homesteaded residences? Depending early on, what we're going to do as staff at the assessor's office is we're going to make an evaluation which is more advantageous for you in 2025, the local exemption or the statewide exemption, and they are going to apply the greater value savings to you. Until such, the chief appraiser will do that, according to the legislation. So it's not like our local exemption goes away, okay? But they will have to do an in-house calculation on every homesteaded property and say, all right, for this year's taxation purposes, you're going to remain under the local, or if there's a greater savings for you to have with the statewide exemption, we'll apply that one and not apply.
So whichever is the greater saving to the homesteaded property owner.
Every year.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's in theory safe to assume that as we get 4 or 5 years, if this is approved by the voters 4 or 5 years down the road, there won't be too many folks left on our local exemption. You know, our local exemption will be for folks that have just purchased their property in Upson County and filed for that homestead exemption. You will not be required to go, if you're already filed for a homestead exemption here, you won't have to refile for this one. So that's important to know. It does also allow for a provision where this board next year could call for a referendum on an additional sales tax. And I'll say a penny for now, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a penny. It can be up to a penny. And what that would give the voters the opportunity to do is vote to enact an additional 1 cent or less sales tax on themselves for the sole purpose of rolling their property taxes back. So in other words, we'll pay it in sales tax, and then that will apply only to a rollback. In other words, the language in the House bill says it cannot be a windfall to any of the entities that are participating in it. It can only service as a rollback.
Now, is that for all properties or homestead properties?
Only homesteaded properties.
And does it affect our current loss?
No, it would be in addition to. So there are some exceptions for some counties that have some constitutional sales taxes that we don't have. For our purposes, it would be an additional tax, and it would go only to rollback property taxes.
On homesteaded property.
Correct. So the kicker is, the only action you can take is to opt out of this. If we do nothing, we're automatically included. So I could potentially see, have an experience in other parts of the state and other communities. I could see where this could be a big problem for some communities that don't generate really anything in sales tax and would potentially have the, rely a lot heavier on property tax than we do. So I see why that provision was added, but, what else am I missing? So, and it applies to everyone that levies sales tax. So every governing authority will have to opt out if they don't want this to proceed with their levy. So it'll apply to the school board, it'll apply to the city of Yatesville, it will apply, even though they don't levy, it will still apply if they levied a millage and it would apply to them if they levied a millage. So city of Thomaston. Now the sales tax component is going to be similar to a loss negotiation. It's like, so you have to get together with, and it's the same loss provision. So for us, it's the city of Thomaston and Upson County would have to get together and decide how we would divvy this out. With the exception that if you if you're able to use it to get your millage rate to 0, then you could no longer take any more of that windfall from that sales tax. So I guess in some communities, so the penalty for that is that the DOR will not approve your digest that year if you are not strictly using it as a rollback. So that it's going to be a different type of conversation with our partners this time around because of the nuances of that language and not being a windfall tax. Lastly, the difference between this tax exemption and the one we instituted, this will apply to every millage rate we levy. So important to keep in mind. It will apply to our joint project millage rate, our unincorporated levy, and it will also apply to the city's joint projects millage rate. So however we agree to divvy it out. Lastly, it changes a lot of different procedural things related to how we do our digest. The one thing this board will be most interested in is that we will no longer have to send estimates out with the assessment notices, which is always, ever since that law was enacted, it creates a lot of confusion with taxpayers because those estimates are based on the current millage rates, and you know, they see the if your property value went way up and, you know, our board's doing a rollback, you know, it's negligible to a taxpayer, but they would see that estimate and panic.
From April to November.
Right.
Yeah. Their taxes are going up.
Yeah. It's our fault. So that part of it will go away. There'll be no more estimate on that. So the impact, I mean, so it's just going to put a little more pressure on non-homesteaded property, and, you know, whether that's second home, third home for rental purposes or commercial or industrial, it's really just going to, and similar to what this board tried to do a few years ago, put a little less pressure on the homesteaded property owner and a little more pressure on the properties that are not homesteaded. So it is a cost shift of sorts, but I think you're all aware that the General Assembly this year was lobbied hard by homesteaded property owners from all across the state, considering the valuations were really getting out of hand.
The tremendous inflationary growth in our property values. I mean, so this is their way to provide relief to people that own their homes.
So speak of it in theoretical terms, if future boards or council, Thomaston, if they left their millage rate the same and your property was applied this homestead under this legislation, whether or not the county adopted a rollback rate or the city adopted a rollback rate would not matter to you because your level of taxation would not change. It would change on all the others that were not homesteaded, but it would not change for a homesteaded property owner. Lastly, the power to increase frozen valuations is given to the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue, and they can apply a CPI factor to it. So it doesn't say that they must, it just says that they can.
So, I got a question for you, and yeah, will they cancel our class? And I was going to sit in on the 16th, I think, webinar. But so that rate is froze for how long? Is it?
For as long as you own that property.
So
So if
Some
you
of these
went
property
and
taxes-
appealed your taxes this year and you got froze locked, okay, and that's my question.
And, Commissioner Ellington, I think, and understanding this is extremely complicated, I was in there with some very experienced managers and finance officers, and we had, in my opinion, we asked a lot of dumb questions because the language is, well, like any piece of legislation, it's ambiguous at times. But there is I wish I could point to it very quickly. There is something specific in the legislation that speaks to the 3-year freeze. And I think I did put it in my summary.
Okay.
So have a look at that. I can't recall it, but again, this was...
So this is what's amazing about this whole thing. So, you know, I've got a very seasoned financial county finance guy, county manager guy, and you're just drinking through a fire hose to get the information on it. We're voting on this stuff. I guess at the end of the day, what people need to know is that it is geared towards helping offset all this inflationary growth on your homesteaded properties.
Yeah.
So, if you like that kind of thing, vote yes. If you don't, vote no.
In about the 1 cent, I mean, I know I've had people standing here say they'll never vote for another, sales tax.
I'm never going to vote for a tax
Never gonna vote
increase.
for another sales tax, but if you don't vote for it, if you leave outside these county boundaries and you stop at the convenience store or you go shopping in Griffin or Macon or Columbus and they opt this, you're gonna help their property owners pay their property, decrease their
Lower
property bill,
their-
and you're gonna come back home and pay more.
But again, that question will be answered.
By our local voters for that,
Yeah.
for that,
Well,
for that
So
additional tax.
people understand.
That will be answered by this body at some point, assuming this passes, as to whether or not to pursue the
Right.
sales tax.
Correct. Yeah, you're not, so that's not something that happens automatically. That's
Yeah.
something you have
That's
to
something
resolve to
that
do.
next year we-
Yeah, next year you're gonna have to.
Or not- or
What kind of
resolve.
time frame are we gonna have to put that together? I mean.
You would have to, it would have to be ready for the, it has to be after the end of March, in advance of the November ballot.
So we're gonna have to get right on it,
Mhm.
start,
If that's-
right out the gate.
If that's what the board wants to do.
And if you're not currently
Can't
enrolled in a
tell one
local
man.
homestead, you will still have to enroll in this?
So if we don't opt out, they will apply this for that calculation automatically. They won't, no one will have to go re-enroll.
My last question. The taxing authorities, do they have to agree? What if you got two that says we don't wanna do it, or one that says we don't wanna do it?
To which aspect of it?
To
Opting out?
opt in and opt out? What if one authority says, we don't want any part of this?
If one of the governing authorities opts out, first of all, the penny tax is not available to the school boards.
Right, I've already
Okay.
been approached by that.
So, not available to the school boards, only to the governing authorities. If one governing authority opts out, then they will not be eligible for any of the proceeds at all if the voters impose another 1 cent for rollback.
But okay.
Yeah.
And the question you had on the 3-year freeze, so the chief appraiser will ensure that every parcel in the county be appraised at least every 3 years, modifying the 3-year lock statute for appeals, so the taxpayer only receives the benefit of the lock if they receive a value reduction on the appeal. And then so it'll basically prevent frivolous appeals from being filed only to get your property value locked. So I think that answers the question you were asking.
It's gonna be interesting.
But some of the things that were left a little unclear that are going to have to become procedural with Department of Revenue is that how does it interact with the rollback already being created by law? So it's not clearly stated in the legislation. So that was one of the big questions that will have to be adjudicated at the administrative level rather than the legislative level. So
What if a property is currently undervalued and it's sold this calendar year but has not been updated? You know what I'm saying? Let's say this takes, I buy a piece of property in December and I pay $100,000 more than it's valued at now. Is it gonna be locked in, that 100?
that property for the homesteaded property owner will be locked in at the 2024 value, whatever that value is. If it changes hands, then the value unlocks and will lock at whatever the appraisal is, whatever the value that the chief appraiser sets for it, then it'll lock again.
So, and I don't want us to belabor all this because but the question on that, you hit a point here. Say there's a piece of property that's undervalued today. Whenever this magic date comes, and that's what it's locked in. And you find out later, the appraisers go out there and find out, well, hey, they did this and this and this and never got a permit. They've never looked at it. And I mean, say there's $200,000, $300,000 difference between what it was appraised as of that date, and then what it actually would have been had the assessors gone out and looked at it, or knew about it, you know.
If it's homesteaded, the way I read it, and I don't remember anyone, we had a class of like 150 people because all of y'all's classes were canceled, but the way I read it and the way it was explained to us is that whatever that assessed value was in 2024,
They get over.
it's frozen. As long as you own the property and it's homesteaded. So you know, you can only homestead one property.
Gaming.
My exact.
All right. You have anything else? We beat that one.
No, like I said, have a look at the summary. There's a few other smaller administrative items I didn't cover in there, but yeah, I think Commissioner Watson, they're going to do a review of this at your ACCG conference later in the week, so I would take advantage of that if you can.
Okay. Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Jessica?
No, I don't have anything.
Just show up for the public hearings for the budget, right?
When we get them, I'll get them scheduled. I'll send an invite out. Oh, I do have one, and most of you responded. The work session was changed to the 23rd.
23rd.
Instead of 16th.
Okay.
I don't reply, it's good. I'm good.
Mr. English? I know we're going to talk in a minute.
Nothing for
Mr.
you.
Watson?
No, I don't think I have anything.
Mr. Ellington?
No, sir, believe it or not, I don't have anything.
Dang. Appreciate y'all showing up. We got through a lot of stuff tonight, and, you know, I was figuring on being here till 10 o'clock, and we did good.
We
Appreciate
left
everybody
it.
in YouTube land watching us too. Florida's fixing to be hit by a pretty good storm. They had a lot of damage from that last storm that did a lot of damage in Georgia and North Carolina. If you're a praying person, and I pray that you are, please remember these people in your prayers, because I think this next storm is going to put water on top of water on top of water. And God sees fit, they're going to come out of it. So that's all I got.
Okay. All right. I've got nothing other than, Dave, we're not going to have any votes or anything like that after executive session, so you don't have to stick around. We treat you right. So I need a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Thank y'all for coming.
Do you want to go without staff first, or do you want to kick us off?
We'll do that part last.
Okay.
No, that's just that's not.
It actually makes it,
You got lower rate?
I was gonna ask you if when I go to the zoning thing, they're gonna want me to speak.
the same thing, we all have to sign up sheet, you decide whether you're gonna sign up or not. They